All right, class. First off, as always, good day. Um, this video is the second half of the medieval artwork. So if you watched the first video, you should remember um, the Byzantine, the Christian, and the migration art. Now, today, this one is going to be on the other half of that time period. Because you have to remember, the medieval era lasted for about 1,000 years. So that's a lot of time for art and just basically history to go through. All right. So, again, if you do not have the warm up or the packet, um, lined sheet of paper is fine. Just be sure you put in there, warm up questions, notes, the response to question on the side, so that way I know what each section means. Okay, where that you actually did the work. Okay, so without further ado, let us begin. All right, so here is your warm up picture. Um, Basically, analyze the picture and what do you see? All right, look at the picture from left to right, up and down, and everywhere around. What do you see in this picture? Okay, that's the first question. The second question is, what do you think is going on? What's happening in this picture based off your analysis? You know, what do you see because of what you see? What's going on? Um, Pay particular attention to the people. Look at their hands. See if you could see what they're holding, if anything. Um, See if you can notice something unique or something that they all have in common. Um, Again, really look at this picture and analyze it. Okay. Now, again, if this is your first time watching the videos, um, I go through the sections, the notes, and the warm ups and the questions quite fast because, again, this is a video and it's not like in class where I have to wait for you guys to write. This video, you can pause it, you can rewind it, so you have that freedom to go at your own pace. Okay, so again, if I go too fast, just go backwards, pause it, and then finish up whatever you have to finish up. Okay, so on to the notes. All right, so in the last video, we talked about the migration artwork, which is the Germanic tribes coming into the British countries in the Celtic area and basically fusing their artwork. Basically, the insular is basically the same thing. There's just a subtle little difference. All right. So insular is also known as a Hiberno-Saxon art. Insula is actually Latin for the word island. So that would basically be England. Um, Thing is, it's common in Ireland and British during the medieval era, this type of artwork. Again, insular and migration art are usually combined together. It's they're kind of hand in hand in a sense. Um, they basically had the same type of artistic style, you know, um, because the thing is they adapted from the British and the Celtics. But the thing is that what made the insular uh, artwork unique is that they actually really focused on metalwork. All right, so there's a picture, two pictures if you look to the right. The bottom one is a very lovely cup that was made. The thing is, you have to remember, during the Middle Ages, the medieval ages, Dark Ages, however you want to say it, um, that type of uh, silverware, that was not for the average Joe. That was for only the nobles or the kings and things like that. So the average family did not have those type of uh, silverware. Basically, they they just had regular standard cups, clay, and stuff like that. But only the rich had those. Okay. Uh, the thing is, Also, during this time, the insular sculptures were made, but again, they were for religious purposes. Okay. All right. So now we're going to get into the pre-Romanesque and the Romanesque era. The thing is, this is the first time that there's a distinct style of art that spreads all over Europe. Okay. Now, your world history teacher should have taught you about the different Germanic tribes that sacked uh, Rome. There were the Goths, and then there was another group called the Franks, and then there were several other ones. Now, the thing is, we're going to talk about the Franks for a little bit because they would build these large stone buildings, uh, basically for monastery, churches, and palaces. Uh, a lot of them at that time, the pre-Romanesque, a lot of them, I mean, huge percentage of them were made of only stone. Okay. Now, the thing is, if you notice on the picture to your right, that there weren't a lot of windows. Um, because the thing is, the roofs were made of stone. And the thing is, in order to support it, you need the walls to be sturdy. That way, the roof doesn't cave in and stuff like that. Um, so that's why there's not many windows, and that's why a lot of these buildings were very, very dark, and they are still dark to this day. Um, so those that survived, yeah, you can go see them, and but their thing is they're very dark. Um, but thanks now to electricity, you can't see. Okay. Now, the Roman architecture can be seen. It's very visible if you look at this picture. The curved roofs, and most in particularly, the columns or the pillars. So if you look at the very front of it, up on top, you can see clearly two pillars right there. And if you look even higher on the top level, there are two little pillars as well. And these were used to support the walls. Very Roman particular style. All right. So the Romanesque, they had the same style of architecture as the Romans and the pre-Romanesque, but the thing is they realized that they could have more light could be added if curved supports were inside the building as well. Not just on the sides, but inside the house as well. If they did that, that would create less stress on the walls. And then with that in turn could give more windows, bring in more light, natural light, you know. So the other thing you have to remember is if you look at the picture on the top, it has a very rhythmic style, the Romanesque does. Is very parallel. It's what you see on one side, it's on the other, and type of thing. And that goes into the rhythmic style. It's not doesn't look like there's three windows over here and only two there, and there's four pillars here and there's only one there. It's not like that at all. It's very what you see on one side, it's on the other. There's a pattern to stuff. All right. Now, if you look at the bottom picture, that is a great example of how those support create less stress on the walls. Okay, because the pressure is being pushed onto every one of those sections, and it's basically evenly distributing it instead of being forced on the walls. Okay. Now the thing is, the Romanesque architecture it varied. Unlike the pre-Romanesque, which was just stone, the Romanesque varied their walls, or piers, arcs, openings, the arcades. Now, arcades is not the like video game arcades. That's a succession of arcs. So if you look at that picture with how it curves, it's like a succession of them in a hallway. You know, the columns, the vaults, and the roofs. Basically, all that they had was different materials to create this. It wasn't all stone. They use different things, and that's what made Romanesque different from the pre-Romanesque. All right, so here is your midpoint question. Why do you think that the rich and powerful wanted their churches and palaces to look similar to the old Roman style? Right, so think about that. Why would the rich want a style that was, let's say, it's died out in a sense? It was popular, you know, over 1,000 years ago. You know, why now? Why do you think they wanted that type of style? The second question is, would you want to live in a place like that first pre-Romanesque era place, the one with less windows and very dark and so that? Would you want to live in a place like that, rent free, as it was back in the 600s to 1200s? So basically, um, no light, made of pure stone, no electricity, things like that. Um, would you want to live in a place like that, rent free? Why or why not? Explain your answer. Okay. All right. So before I start this section of notes, I just want to say that I looked ahead, and the next section, which is the Goth, it's actually going to take a little bit longer. So I'm actually going to break this down into, in total, there's going to be three medieval videos. Okay. This will be the last slide for this particular video, and there will be one video dedicated just to the Goth style. Okay. So going back to the notes, the Romanesque art, basically like the time period before, it focused a lot on religion. Okay. But there were some things that emerged at this time. One of them was the the crucifix. It was introduced by the Germans. Um, the high relief sculptures were made. Okay. Um, Now the thing is, a high relief is that picture up on top is basically engravings in natural marble, wood, whatever the material is. Uh, Instead of breaking it down completely, it's like you get a wall of stone and you chip and you create something in that wall without, in a sense, destroying the rest of the material, whatever it was be. You know, that's what a high relief sculpture was. Okay. The other thing were paintings had striking colors, and many of them were the primary colors. So that's the yellow, red, and blues. Um, Now, the thing is, like I told you before, the migration and the insular era, their writing, their manuscripts, so it had like the big N or the big O, it looked all pretty and stuff. They also too had the primary colors, to make it more vivid, more, standing out in a bit. And the last thing that really, really came out at this time was the stained glass windows. Um, and thing is, they were widely used. Now, if you noticed, like a student said in the class, that the stained glass basically are mosaics, and in a sense, that's true. They are mosaics in some form, if you want to use that, um, because they are pieces of glass that are created to make a whole picture. You know, yeah, granted, some parts are not, solid blue or solid flesh tone or whatever. There are little different things to it, but that's fine. You know, uh, but yes, in a sense, it is a mosaic. Now, like I said, this will be the last slide for this video. There's going to be another one for the Goth, so go to the YouTube channel of mine and you'll find it. Okay, it will be under the AP Art History um, Part 2.3, and it'll put something like Goth, medieval art Goth, some of that. Okay, so be sure you look for that video, and let's finish it up. Okay, see you in a bit.